Welcome to the Contributor Summit. Thank you for coming. I'm Aaron Turner. I interned last summer, and I just came back about a month ago, and now I'm giving a talk. So here I am. My pronouns are he/him, and I'm a UXC on the AMP team. I'm under analytics, and yeah, let's get into it. So what this talk covers, it's going to go over some general things like what is open source, finding an issue, what else? Setting up your dev environment, building, working with Git, creating pull requests, all the fun stuff that you kind of have to go through to contribute to AMP. And one thing I'd like to mention, this is kind of like a guided tour of the Quick Start documentation. We have a bit.ly link, bit.ly/AMP Quick Start, if you want to look through that in case you ever want to reference back. I think we're going to put the slides up, so you can also look at this. So first, let's go over what is open source. So I just put the definition because I feel like that's a good slide to have. But yeah, so open source is denoting software which the original source code is made freely available and may be redistributed and modified. So what that means is that under our license, you are free to download the code, modify it, give it to your friend, give it to your mom, whatever you want to do with it. And yeah, you can contribute back and make changes and help this open source code become greater for everyone who also wants to redistribute and modify. And that leads us into how do we modify this code? And for that, we use Git. So Git is a version control system. It's distributed, it's supposed to be very small, so meaning that everyone could have their own copy and make changes, and people can pull down your changes and do all kinds of fun stuff. We mostly use Git for teamwork, so we can all work together, and we don't have to all have to edit the same file. And, oh, don't edit that file, I'm working on it. Version, so if like something goes bad, we can always roll back. And then distributed storage, so we have multiple places where this code is stored. So if like GitHub blew up or something like that, then we all have a copy of it, and we could just upload it back up somewhere else. And then leading into GitHub. So just in case anyone here is like new to development, Git and GitHub are different. GitHub is a platform for hosting Git. It's very popular with the open source community, and it's really familiar along a lot of open source developers because we all use it to have a single platform to like kind of go and edit our code and use Git for things like that. And if you are new to like contributing to AMP and you don't have a GitHub account, maybe you use SVN at work or you haven't made a GitHub for whatever reason, feel free to make an account and for the code lab we have later on for the open source contribution. So here's AMP project. We're on GitHub. We got some repositories and things. AMP HTML is the main one with the cool squiggly line, or the squiggliest line, I guess. And here we want to mention that you should probably join the AMP project. This allows us to assign issues to you and kind of give you like an actual face to a name and things like that. We'll have another bit.ly link, bit.ly/join AMP GitHub. And yeah, that'd be awesome. And then you do need two-factor auth. That's one thing, is that we want to make sure that you're actually the one committing code so we know we're actually talking to you for like any security reasons. But yeah. So first, let's go over finding an issue. This is kind of where you're going to start any contribution to AMP. Either you're going to find one. Most of the time, you're going to find one, or you can create one depending on what's going on. But yeah, we're going to do finding just because it's an example of how to contribute to AMP. So first, you kind of, like, this is your first time using GitHub. I had a friend that uses GitLab, and they'd never seen the GitHub interface. So that's why I'm going over this. So first, you want to go to the Issues tab, and then you want to click Labels. And then what we have here is GFIs. So GFI stands for Great First Issue. So this is your first time contributing AMP. This is a great place to start because a lot of times it's like, oh, hey, like fix some documentation, or like, oh, hey, like we need to do something cool here. That's easy. So yeah. And then so for this example, I made a demo issue, and we're going to go ahead and click that because it has the GFI label, and yeah, go from there. So cool. So here we have an issue. It's just like, hey, can we add a comment to this thing? I mean, it's not going to always be this easy, but yeah. So as a temp account I made, I'm like saying, hey, I would like to claim this issue. So if you're a new contributor and you're like, oh, hey, I want to like try this issue out. This is my first time. Just mention that you would like to claim it. And then someone else will come in and say, oh, hey, like awesome. Like, I'm glad you want to contribute. I'm going to assign the issue to you. And that means we're going to add a label saying you claimed it, and we're going to assign it to you, meaning no one else is going to work on it, that we expect you to go and like write code for it. If you change your mind, that's okay. But, you know, like just so we have that agreement, like, okay, you're going to work on this, and we're going to go from there. And leading into that, now that we're going to actually start the issue, we have setting up your development environment. And that's going to lead into installing Git. So getting into Git, we have GitHub Desktop and the command line. In this example, we're going to go over the command line. But if you're really new to Git, the GitHub Desktop's really good. This doesn't go over how to use GitHub Desktop, more of like the commands you want to run in the command line. But yeah, GitHub Desktop's a great place to start. I've seen a lot of people get great results with it. And then next we're going to fork the project. So what does it mean to fork? Fork means that you're going to take the repo and put it on your own GitHub account, kind of, and create like a new like relationship between our like the main AMP repo, and have your own local copy of it. So this won't let you allow you to make direct commits to the project, but this is good because then whenever we make direct commits to the project, maybe someone pulls in a pull request, you don't have to always keep a tab on like how that updates, and it doesn't conflict with your own changes. So yeah, we're gonna click fork, and then it's gonna show this cool animation. It's gonna be like a fork in a book, and it's gonna be like scanning it. It looks kind of cool. And then you're gonna go ahead and clone your fork. So if you notice that instead of saying like, oh, we're on AMP project /AMP HTML, it's now our account /AMP HTML. You don't want to clone the wrong project, or else it's going to start telling you things like, oh, hey, like, you know, you're not allowed to do this. And really, if you clone your own fork, then it's going to be like, oh, yeah, cool, go for it. So yeah, we're going to clone that. It's going to click that little button, and it shows you the link. Click copy, and we're going to open up our terminal and do git clone, and then whatever clone URL you got, and that's going to go from there. So that leads us into this contributing doc. So from here on until like after we like finish our contribution, I guess, there's a really nice doc on contributing to AMP. It's gonna go over like how to set up your dev environment, like issues, Greatfish issues, like when to file issues and things like that. I made a bit.ly link at amp/contributing doc, and I think that's a great place to start if you're like kind of following along. So first thing we're gonna do is install Node. So what is Node? Node is this JavaScript runtime built on top of Chrome's V8 JavaScript engine. So this kind of lets you run Node inside on your local machine inside of like a server environment. And we use this a lot for like our build tools and like a lot of other like random linting and stuff like that. It's kind of going to go into Gulp, and we'll explain it a little bit more in a little bit. So what we use is NVM, which stands for Node Version Manager, not NPM. NPM is Node's package manager. So there's like a one-letter difference. It might be a little confusing, but we'll get into it. So you want to go in there. There's a project on GitHub. It's just creationix/NVM. Or you can just Google it. Usually it's like the first result. And then, yeah, we're going to install Node using that. And then we're going to go into Yarn. So what Yarn is that it's an alternative to NPM. It originally came out, it's made by Facebook. It kind of solved the problem of like, oh, hey, like I have version 1.6 of Gulp and you have version 1.5. Oh, no, the project broke. It does really good project dependency management, as well as speed up a lot of the like NPM install and stuff like that by using a local cache or something like that. So yeah, you want to look up Yarn. You can look up like Yarn Package Manager. It's probably the easiest way to find it. But we also have a link to it in the contributing doc that I just mentioned a little bit ago. And yeah, we're doing a command there to install it. And then we're going to install Gulp. I know there's a lot of tools, but so Gulp is a task runner that we use. By task, I mean like we'll take like all the JavaScript in the project, minify it, compile it into one giant file, and that's kind of the AMP runtime and things like that. And also other tools like linting, testing, that's all run through Gulp. So you're gonna go ahead and do yarn global Gulp CLI, and that allows you to run Gulp from the command line without having to use like any project type dependencies. And then install our dependencies with Yarn. So now that we've kind of installed all these other dependencies, now we have to install the dependencies of the project itself. So AMP is built on top of other open source code. I know we use things like, what do we use? We use stuff. I can't remember any of the names right now, but we have a bunch of packages that do all kinds of cool things. So if you do Yarn, it's gonna install things like other open source projects from Node. And then, oh, here's a good example. We use Karma. Karma is our testing suite. If you run Yarn, it's gonna download all of Karma, so that way you can run our tests and things like that. And so yeah, you just cd into the project, so like go inside the project folder and then run Yarn, and that's gonna automatically go through our package.json and install all of our dependencies for the project. And next, we're gonna go to building and serving the project. So now that we have the project actually cloned, you can run the command gulp, and what that's gonna do is build all the extensions, all the project, and get all that set up for you. And it's gonna show a bunch of text. At first, there's like a slight delay, so like don't get scared. It's like, oh, it's just sitting here not doing nothing. It takes a little bit because the project's kind of big, and then a bunch of text is gonna fly by and you're like, what's going on? But it's okay. It's just happening. It's building, doing stuff, and then eventually you're gonna get to this point. Web server started at http://localhost 8000. And then so what that is a URL. You want to go to your browser, open that up, and here's a cool GIF. So yeah, I'm just opening up my browser, gonna go to that URL. And yeah, so for all the GIFs, I kind of made them kind of long, so I have jokes for all of them. So after you load up the browser, you're gonna get this like cool directory interface, and that's gonna take you to examples. And then we usually use the article.amp.html. So let's see if I find it. There it is. And that's going to show an example. but I promised you a joke. So, what's it called? Oh, a guy walks into a bar and he asks for 1.4 root beers. The bartender says, "I'll have to charge you extra. That's a root beer float." The guy says, "In that case, I'll make it a double." So, now that we actually have the example served, one thing I like to do whenever I have an example project, I like to actually make a small change. That way you can see like, okay, is this actually serving, or did I just kind of get lucky and are things just working just because? So what I do here is I open up Finder, I go to the project, and then I open VS Code, and then I open the project inside of VS Code, and then I go to that same article.amp.html project that we found, and then you go, I'm just gonna look for like the title text. I think it was lorem ipsum, and then I just change it, and then you'll see in like 5 seconds that it'll change. So one thing I'd also like to mention is that we don't have library load. So if you make a change and like you're expecting the library load like it would in like a React project that you automatically have set up, here you have to actually press refresh for our examples at least. And boom, there you go. Oh yay, we're like actually serving the project. So that's cool. And then another joke I have is, what's the best one-liner programming joke you know? Any joke can be a one-liner with a semicolon. So next, we're gonna be working with Git. So one thing that's really good is Git status. So Git status kind of shows you like, okay, what do I have changed? Like what is messing up and stuff like that? Like, is anything modified? Is anything already ready to be committed? I pretty much get status like every 5 seconds, no matter what's going on. And from here, I know I just made a change, but I like undid it. And then if you do get status without making changes, it'll say, hey, you're on this branch. You're up to date with that branch. There's nothing to commit. You're like made no changes, which is good to know. So here, we're going to go ahead and make a branch. So a good example, I try to explain Git as like save files in like a video game, kind of like Oblivion or Fallout, where like, you know, you make that like actual save after you like beat a boss. That could be kind of considered your master branch, but the auto saves that happen along the way can kind of be considered branches in the sense that like, if you like beat that boss, that was like, okay, that was the cool main thing I wanted to do. But then the auto saves are kind of like, oh, I kind of want to like start off from this one point that I was at, rather than the actual main save that I like made a while back. So we're gonna go ahead and make a git checkout and git checkout -b, and then the demo issue. One thing I wanted to mention here is that the reason why it's demo-issue.1800 or 16 is because you usually want your branch names to be something kind of like related to the issue itself, just so it helps like people who are contributing and yourself remember like, why did I even make this branch in the first place? So yeah, just use that command and you can make branches. And then we're gonna get status again, and it's gonna show you, oh hey, you're on this branch, nothing to commit, working tree clean. And this is good, because now we know, okay, we have our own branch to like go ahead and like mess around, make whatever we want to do, and then pull it back into master eventually to our like main save. So cool, we're gonna go ahead and make some changes. This is the original issue. It was, usually it's not gonna be this easy where it's gonna tell you like, oh hey, it's in this file, it's on this line. But yeah, just for this example, you know, we know our actual issue we need to fix is on this line in this file. So we're gonna go ahead and, what are we doing here? What are we doing here? Oh, we're making the changes, duh. So we're gonna go ahead and open the actual file, and then we're gonna scroll down to that line, and then we're gonna go ahead and just add some comments, because I think that's what the issue said. So yeah, that's the actual line. I'm gonna go ahead and add some documentation. And this is a GIF, so there's a joke. And my joke is, there are 10 kinds of people in this world, those who understand binary and those who don't. Because it's like 2 in binary, but yeah. So cool, and this just adds the actual comment and stuff like that. And I think, what does that say? It says something, but yeah, pretty much I make like a really long comment. So we're gonna go forward, okay, cool. Yep, and then if you do git status again after you actually save that file, it's gonna say, oh hey, look, you got this red thing, you like modified it, you gotta do something. So it's gonna yell at you and be like, hey, look, that's good because you made an actual change on this file, which is like everything's looking right. And it says at the bottom, hey, use git add to like go ahead and commit this. So we're gonna go ahead and use git add. And oh, actually here's another good example. If you use git diff, it'll go ahead and show you the actual change that happened. So it says at the top there, like, oh hey, this is the actual file where it's changed, and that's the comment we made, which is good. That's like exactly that. Because sometimes you can kind of like edit a wrong file and you're like, oh no, I'm committing the wrong thing, and it's like, what am I doing? So the git diff is a good example of like showing exactly what changed. So we're gonna use git add to change that. To add that to our commit, and the commit's kind of like the save file itself you can think of. So you do git add and then the file that you want to add to your save file or commit. And then after that you do git status again, it's gonna turn green from red to green, which means, okay, cool, we're good to go. You can go ahead and commit this. So then, actually, before we do commit this, if you're new to Git or you just installed Git on your machine, you need to configure Git to your account. So one thing that is important is when you do git config user email, you want to make sure this email is an email that you can log into Google with, and that's going to be the one that you sign the CLA with, which we're going to go over in a little bit. It's our agreement, and we'll explain it in a bit. But yeah, so you just want to go ahead and git config your username and your email. And this is going to also want it to tie with your GitHub account, and yeah, awesome. So we're going to go ahead and commit our changes. So the reason why I show this GIF is because when you run git commit, it's going to open up a terminal text editor. So don't get scared. Just like go ahead and add a line saying like what this commit is about. So commit messages are really important because they help you reference back to like what did I even change in this actual commit that I'm making. So here we added a comment. Therefore, we want to make the commit message. Okay, we added a comment to the toolbars thing. And I don't have a joke for this one. Oh no, but it's okay. I have more. So what we're going to do is git push origin head. And what that's going to do is push the commit to the head of your branch, meaning that like it's going to be now the current save file, I guess you could say. And I usually use head because that's like the easiest way of saying like, hey, push this commit up to the branch that I'm currently on. And then now we're going to run our commit checks. So AMP has a lot of like testing, linting, and a lot of different things in order to get the project always in a good working state. So these are all the commands I usually run before, like after I run a commit or before, depending on the day, how I'm feeling that day, or Travis. But yeah, so we're going to go ahead and run these commands. And if you do, oh no, if you run gulp-lint, we got an error. That's not good. What do we do? Oh, snap. So it's telling us there, like, hey, line 126 exceeds the maximum length of 80 on that file that we changed. So we're just going to go back and fix the commit errors and stuff. So we go back, open up VS Code, go ahead, make the commit, I think the comment onto like 2 different lines. That's like under 80 characters, which is cool. So yeah, now it's kind of a long GIF. So I have a joke for you. Like I said, what's the object-oriented programmer's favorite genre of music? Classical. I'm sorry. So yeah, cool. We're just going to go ahead, fix this error. And then after you save this file, it's going to go ahead and open the terminal, I think. And then go ahead and do like the git add, git commit. Oh yeah, I have some aliases. So do git status. And then you want to do git add the file that actually changed. I just copy and paste it there. And then you do git commit all over again. And then after you do git commit, you're going to go ahead and do git push origin head. So yeah, fix lint. But yeah, so it's just going to run through and do that. And then git push origin head. And that's going to update your branch, and everything's going to be good to go. So cool. Oh no, I went too far. Cool. Yep. So then after we commit the new changes, we run gulp-lint again. And then bada boom, bada bing, everything looks good. Cool, we're good to go. Awesome. We fixed the change. And how do we get that change into the actual AMP project? And that's how we do pull requests. So we're going to go over how to create pull requests on the GitHub repo. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to the pull requests tab. You're going to do new pull request. And you're going to do compare across forks. And then you're going to choose your fork, which is like your username / AMP-HTML. And then you want to click the actual branch that you're on. So our branch name was demo issue. So after we make sure it's on our fork, and then we want to compare our branch, click that. And then you do create pull request. And then if you go back here too, I'd like to mention, it shows all the changed files. So like if something's in there that you didn't expect to be in there, you can go back and make a new commit and remove that change that you didn't want in there in the first place. So cool. Now you want to go ahead and format your pull request. So what we have that's really nice is that by default it's going to give you like a title, but we have a bunch of instructions for like, hey, here's how to make a good pull request. Like describe what you did and like add an emoji to the title so we can just like scan and see what's going on. And other nice things that's really makes it a lot easier to review your code. So you want to read through there and then create a nice pull request based on that. It's kind of short because it's an example, but depending on what your pull request does, it may be like a long description of like, oh, hey, I like save the world or something like that. And then you want to go ahead and click create pull request. So one thing I would like to mention too, I mean, yay, hooray, we got a pull request made. One thing I'd like to mention is that you can, like sometimes GitHub will pop up this automatic like, oh, hey, we noticed you made a change on your fork on this branch. Would you like to make a pull request? It's like this little like beige yellow button. That's a really easy way to do it. But I was trying to force it to show up and it just wouldn't show up for me when I was making this talk. So just know if it like pops up, that's a cool way to do it too. You can look up like something on Google or GitHub about how to do that, but it makes it a lot easier. So yeah, we have a pull request made. Awesome, this is cool, hooray. And then this thing's gonna pop up, Googlebot's gonna be like, hey, you gotta like sign this thing. And Like, okay, what is this thing? So this is our contributor license agreements. So we have this CLA to say like, oh, hey, you're about to contribute code to this project for Google. Like, we want to just make sure that it's okay that this code gets pulled into Google. The reason why we have this too is for like a lot of legal reasons. Like maybe you work somewhere and like they don't want you writing code in your free time or on open source in general. So we need to make sure that you can sign the CLA and like, so we have a legal agreement. Like, oh yeah, it's cool if you use this code. So you go ahead, you want to scroll down the bottom, and then you want to log into your Google account. And if you notice, that's the same email we used when we did our git config command earlier. And then you log in, and then all the text boxes are red. But you have to fill out your information, and you click I agree at the bottom. And then it's going to be like, yeah, hooray, your CLA's been submitted, cool. And then you want to go back to the pull request and say, hey, I signed it. And then Googlebot's going to come back and be like, oh, okay, cool, looks good, thank you. And then they're going to remove the label, and yeah. So now that we have a pull request open, we have to work with other AMP contributors. This is like probably the best part, the most fun. So say, hey, usually what you want to do is like at or like, well, I don't know, mention someone in the issue comments saying like, hey, like, or what am I trying to say? Oh yeah, so someone on the issue originally that it was like also talking about this issue originally. So someone else on the team maybe, or someone else who created the issue. You might want to mention them and say, hey, I completed the issue, just so like we get a message saying, okay, we need to go back and go look at this code that has been completed. So then since they added me, I'm going to come back and be like, hey, look, man, you have a period. Can we do a comma? Like, you know, this is an example, of course. Like maybe they'll like actually talk about code stuff. But you want to talk back and forth. Like one thing I'd like to mention here is that like in my temp account, I said, hey, like, you know, I have a slight disagreement. And that's okay. We want to work with you. We want to hear your opinion on why you did things. So we like it when you give feedback back. Or, you know, just because we say to do something, if there's a reason why you did it and it was a good reason, we'd definitely like to know. So they're going to go ahead and say, like, yeah, cool. Like, I think they're cool, but I think a comma would be best. So we're going to go back. We have this feedback now, and we're going to go ahead and implement that feedback. So we would open VS Code, change whatever changes we need to make, do the whole git push, git add, all that. And then what you're going to notice is that in the PR, once you actually commit and push that change, GitHub's going to go ahead and like automatically make this little label somewhere in the little PR view saying like, oh, hey, here's your commit message. This is the commit. Cool. You like made the feedback. And then after you finish the feedback, feel free to go through each one and say done. That way we know like which ones you did and which ones you didn't. Or just so we know like, okay, this is all the feedback that have been done so far. Maybe you're doing multiple commits. So we can keep track of like how much is done so far. And then you want to, at the very end, once you make all your changes, feel free to comment again and say, hey, this is now ready for review again. We'd appreciate it too. One thing I forgot to do is mention someone. So like maybe if like, I don't know, someone like commented back and gave you feedback, feel free to ping us again at that same person, like, hey, this is ready for review again. That way they can come back and they have an actual like email saying like, oh, you gotta go review this. So cool. After you, after someone comes back and reviews it again, they're gonna give you like LGTM, which means like looks good to me. Maybe some emojis because it was an awesome pull request. And then they're gonna go ahead and merge it in. Awesome. Hey, your pull request has been merged. Awesome. If you're a contributor now, that's cool. Like we actually got a pull request in. This is awesome. So if you want to make sure, like, okay, am I actually a contributor? This is just a fake thing. I don't know why, but you can go to the Insights tab and then click Contributors, and it's going to show everyone that's ever contributed to AMP, and your name should be there if the pull request gets merged, which is awesome. Now you can, like, take a screenshot, post it on GitHub, tell your mom, tell your dad, I don't know. It's cool. Yeah, you're a contributor. Awesome. So, yeah, here's just some closing thoughts. Contributing isn't always easy. One thing I'd like to mention here is, like, here's some of our, like, most commented PRs. There's one that has 290 comments. I don't know what was going on there, but we had a lot to say about it, I guess. So yeah, sometimes there's gonna be some great first issues that are like, or most of them are gonna supposedly gonna be like, oh hey, just like make this one change in this file. But larger projects, like maybe you wanna contribute an extension, that can go for a long time. So just keep that in mind, you know. It's not something you probably can do like in a weekend, but it depends on the issue itself. So you definitely wanna reach out, like maybe ask for like, hey, how long do you think this would take to get done and things like that. But yeah. So that's one thing to keep in mind. Oh, another thing too I'd like to mention, I just saw my speaker notes. We like small PRs. So if you are going to contribute something like an extension, it'd be good if you broke that up into like 10 separate PRs rather than like one massive one that we have to then go through. If we can kind of like discuss and go through the code together as like, you know, things get pulled in, that's best for both you and us. That way, in case we want to change direction or something didn't quite go as like we had planned, making small PRs allows us to, you know, kind of have that flexibility. So yeah, now that your code's pulled in, when can I use this code? We have releases cut every Tuesday. So first our code goes, or AMP goes into Canary, meaning it's like a test environment that gets run for like a few specific users, and then it goes in production. So it's in Canary for a week, and then after that, it goes into production, I guess, forever. But yeah, so if you do like the math, it's like 8 to 14 days, because like if you contribute on a Tuesday and like it's the right time of day, then like it'd only be that 1 week. But if you like contribute like on a Wednesday, then it would take the full 2 weeks. So yeah, you get it. And then after your code actually goes in production, please feel free to go out and test your code. Tell your friends to go play with it. Tell people to file issues and things like that. And just tell everyone like, oh, hey, I'm a contributor on AMP. My code's in production. This is awesome. And then finally, we'd like to mention maintaining and contributing more code. So maintaining code is like, well, I mean, yeah. So like if you find a bug in production maybe, or someone else is like, oh, hey, like something's wrong, like could we please fix this? We'd love it if you can come back and get those issues and be like, oh, hey, I'm the one that developed this code that like is breaking. What's going on? You know, maybe we can both figure out a solution together. We like it if you can, when you contribute code, that you can also help maintain it, because yeah, it'd be awesome. And then one thing too is solving more issues, contributing more code. Yeah, just if you want to like contribute more code, just repeat this process over and over as many times as you want. We love returning contributors. We really appreciate them, and we value them a lot, and we love working with external people who aren't on the team, and people on the team, of course. But yeah. And yeah. So we have a code lab at 2:15 for the NGen contribution. I'll be walking around. We have a few other people walking around trying to help you just get accustomed with the project, get the development environment set up. And I think we're going to try to get you all to have a small change put into the project, which would be fun. And yeah, thank you very much for your time.